Howdy YouTube. We are back with some extinct stew. This is when Krakens were real. Big guys with tentacles. That is what today's video is. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Welcome back to another video. If you guys are new to my channel, hi, hello. I absolutely adore animals. I majored in biology, worked as a zookeeper. I studied animals. I freaking love them. So I love content like that. That is why we react to a lot of animals here on the channel. But I hope you're having a wonderful day. And if you ever want to catch my live reactions, I do stream over on Twitch. Make sure you check that out. Link is down below. And I also do anime reactions over on my anime channel. We have started JoJo's. So if you want my JoJo's reaction, go check out the anime channel or check out the Patreon for the full uncut version. But enough about me. We're diving on into the video.
Of all the sea monsters ever imagined,
Lots
perhaps
of sea
none
monsters
are as legendary or as feared as the Kraken. A beast of enormous
I
size
feel like the Megalodon's up there for being feared, though. I don't know.
that used to terrorize the minds of sailors at sea.
Okay.
And at one point, was truly considered to be a grievous threat to ships. With some
you know what I like? Kind of off topic. I love Kraken rum. Does that count for anything?
naturalists even having held them responsible for maritime losses, as exemplified by Dennis Montfort, a malacologist who deduced that a Kraken had destroyed 10 British warships in
Holy
1782.
shit. Okay.
Based off of claimed sightings and
1782.
artwork, it's often agreed upon that the Kraken was meant to represent some kind of cephalopod, mainly an octopus or squid, and widely varied in size, with some reporting a length of 60 meters or 200 feet, while others claimed that it was many miles or kilometers long.
Many miles.
And while we can now safely say that Krakens aren't real, hopefully, they were still partly based on something real, with the main thought being that giant and colossal squids, plus maybe the giant Pacific octopus, helped foster its existence in sailors' minds.
Interesting.
And it's not hard to see why, as these very real cephalopods are the Earth's largest invertebrates,
Yeah.
with giant squids being the longest and the colossal squid being the heaviest. And this shape and size has made them great thalassophobia-inducing creatures, and has cemented their status as the closest thing we have to real-life Krakens.
Are people scared of them? Are you guys scared of squids? Like, I don't know. I feel like if you're watching a video about Krakens, you're probably not terrified of them. But there has to be a fear of them, right?
However, once upon a time, and actually a few times at that, cephalopods got even bigger than those of today, and had more prominent roles in their ecosystems.
Big
sometimes
boys.
even being the largest predators around. The story of prehistoric Krakens is an old one, as cephalopods are among the oldest groups of animals still kicking, or rather swimming, as they first evolved some 500 million years ago during the Cambrian period, making them more ancient than sharks, mammals, reptiles, and even insects.
A lot of things going on in the Cambrian period, as we know. Yep.
It's thought that they might have descended from a monoplacophora-like mollusk, and were revolutionary in that they had tentacles and suckered arms, which allowed them to interact with their environment in many different ways. We currently know of over 30 different genera from this period, and while none were large, they were still extremely successful, which led to them rapidly diversifying not long after, during the Ordovician, and ultimately creating the first prehistoric Krakens the world ever saw, the Endoceratidae. This was a family of large-bodied nautiloids,
Look at the little cone head on him.
who had straight, cone-shaped shells and were found virtually worldwide, with a heavy
Interesting.
concentration within the shallow, yet expansive,
Did you guys know every single day I used to have to de-spine and de-beak squid to feed to the animals I took care of? Is that a fun fact or not a fun fact? They were already dead. Like, they were like frozen freaking squid, but I used to have to do that every single day. How exciting.
Boreal oceans and seas of the Cambrian. There, thanks to their overpowered tentacles and arms, they ballooned in size, becoming not
Big
just
boys.
giant cephalopods, but the largest animals on the entire planet at the time. And while all members were
Interesting.
relatively large, there were a couple that stood out, namely Camaraoceras and Endoceras.
Bros, these look like you just put a hat on a freaking squid and told him to go sit in the corner. That's what these look like to me.
Together, they accounted for over 50 species, and they lived during the same time, in the same area, and were extremely similar in anatomy, with the only significant difference being that Endoceras had a more textured shell. This subtle contrast has led to a lot of confusion over some specimens, in regards to which genus they belong to. A slight issue, especially when considering that these specimens happen to be the largest fossils recovered. So unfortunately, we aren't sure which one was bigger. But for now, paleontologists tentatively give them similar measurements, with a hypothetical maximum length of 9.14 meters, or 30 feet in
That's-
adults.
Okay.
There are
Okay, I thought, oh, no. I knew that they were long. I knew that they were long boys. I didn't realize that they were that long of a boy.
also some reports
Oh,
that Endoceras giganteum, an abnormally large species of
giganteum.
Endoceras, got a tad bit larger, but this
tad
is
bit.
unconfirmed. Additionally, these size estimates only refer to their shells.
They're
So
pretty.
if you add the part of the body that stuck out, then their length could have increased by another 16%. Although, because soft
God.
tissue doesn't fossilize well, it's hard to tell what their true length really was.
Correct.
Nevertheless, their shells alone already put them on par with a colossal squid when it comes to
Imagine
length.
finding the first shell from this boy, though. You find this long shell or fragmented shell in a fossil, and you're probably just staring at it like, what could possibly be this?
And what's really impressive is that if you snip the tentacles off of a giant squid, which account for a large portion of its length, then suddenly the Endoceras and Cameroceras become twice its length. And since these ancient krakens were much longer without tentacles being considered, and had shells composed of calcium carbonate, they were also significantly heavier, with the heaviest believed to have been up to 1 ton, whereas giant
That's
squids
heavy.
only reached 0.3 tons, and
That's-
colossal
yeah.
squids only 0.5 tons. Thanks to this stature, these ancient cephalopods and endocerids in general were the undisputed apex predators of their time, with the only other 2 animals really coming close in size being certain sea scorpions and the extremely strange
my
arthropod Agirocassus. But neither were
Okay, so
threatened.
there was a lot of weird stuff happening in the ocean here. A lot of weird stuff. The next biggest thing compared to this was a sea scorpion.
To adult
Mhm.
endocerids, and might have actually been the prey themselves.
Cool,
Though
though.
if they were, they likely never saw it coming, as fully
Oh
grown
my gosh.
endocerids were probably ambush hunters, which we speculate due to their hefty shells, which limited mobility.
Yeah, that makes
It's
sense.
believed that they would have lied upon the seafloor, waiting until prey was close enough, where they could then swiftly strike at them with their powerful arms, before ushering their unfortunate victims into their
Oh my
waiting sharp
God.
beaks. And while no
They
intact
got hella sharp beaks. And I'm assuming that if they were waiting on the bottom of the sea, then the prey that they were eating just assumed that it was probably a regular shell or something without realizing that, you know, we had a friend in the shell.
beak has ever been found, it is presumed that, like modern cephalopods, endocerids had fibrous jaws made of chitin that were surrounded by powerful muscles, giving them a relatively strong bite force. And with this weapon, plus their arms, it's likely that anything was on the menu, including arthropods, mollusks, fish, and even other cephalopods. Although, of all their presumed victims, it's thought that trilobites were their main prey, as they were usually the right size, already inhabited the seafloor, and were one of the most abundant animals in the waters. Along with being expert ambush hunters, Endoceras and Cameroceras were also fairly fast, despite not being very
Okay.
maneuverable, as like modern squids, they had large funnels through which water was expelled at high rates,
Our
essentially
squids look
granting
so
them
fake.
biological
I'm so sorry. I should have said that. They're wonderful creatures, but they look freaking fake, man. A lot of animals look fake to me, but they're clearly real. I just love how variety, like the variety of animals. You go from one end of the spectrum completely to the other end of the spectrum, and then everything in between fills it. And they're so unique looking animals. And I'm not saying this in like a derogatory way. Regardless of if I think an animal doesn't look real or unique or whatever, I still respect that animal and I still show it the love and like respect that it does deserve because it was and or still a living being depending on the scenario. It's just me personally when I look at the animal, I'm like, oh, what a unique looking animal. But I'm not taking anything away from the animal because the animal, with all due respect, still plays important roles to the ecosystem and the environment. As we all know, all animals play an important role, all living beings, all organisms. So I think it's just I love them, but they're unique, okay?
jet propulsion. And this was just one more tool that helped to add to the already hefty repertoire that allowed these prehistoric krakens to reign supreme. But unfortunately for them, and fortunately for others, they did not spend too long at the top, as 455 million years ago, at the end of the Ordovician, they and the rest of the world swam into the first of Earth's big 5 extinction events, that being the late
Oh, is this
Ordovician mass
when-
extinction. This event is
Oh.
often thought to have been caused by intense glaciation, which caused drastic decrease in sea levels and significant changes in temperature, and ultimately resulting in the killing off of the entire Endoceratidae family, and significantly
crazy.
harming cephalopod biodiversity overall. Following this event, cephalopods entered a period of decreased sizes, which lasted for over 200 million years,
Wow.
spanning all the way across the Silurian,
Wow.
Devonian, Carboniferous, and Permian periods. During this quote-unquote dry spell, cephalopods were slowly replaced by eurypterids, sharks, and non-shark fish as the largest animals. And while it was in many ways a Krakenless time, it was still very important to cephalopod history, as you could have enjoyed a vast array of alien-like
Look at
shelled
all of them.
cephalopods that seemed to only get crazier
Wait, look at
and
this
crazier.
little guy. The one to the left. The one in the middle looks freaking cool. But the one to the left, bro, these kind of give me like Gnome Child vibes from RuneScape. I don't know why, but... Well, there's a little guy up here on the 5 in the top right corner. What? They're such unique looking shells. Like...
There was also the evolution
Unique.
of new groups, which included the likes of Pseudorthosaurida during the Silurian, and the famous Ammonites and Belemnoids during the Devonian. Not to mention that certain genera picked up a very important evolutionary trait during these figurative Dark Ages, and that was ink sacs, which popped up in the Carboniferous, and to this day, help cephalopods confuse and blind predators trying to eat them. Additionally, even though species did not get as big as their Ordovician counterparts,
Look at them!
they could still become quote-unquote mini Krakens, as multiple kinds managed to reach a couple of meters or feet in length. Of all the specimens found during these 4 periods, perhaps the largest confirmed genus was the Rheonoceras, a kind of pseudoorthosaurid that lived during the Carboniferous 325 million years ago. Like the earlier endosaurids, this genus had a long straight shell that housed most of the body, but it was not actually closely related to them, and was distinguished by a large central or subcentral siphuncle. Furthermore, remains indicate that Rheonoceras inhabited waters near the equator, and were found in both the Panthalassic superocean and the smaller Tethys Ocean. In these places, it preferred shallow warm waters where some individuals grew to be around 8 feet or 2.4 meters long, not including soft tissue, making it still quite sizable by modern standards. Although paleontologists doubt it was an apex predator, and it likely lived much like modern squids, preying upon small fish and arthropods, while it itself may have been dinner for a new competitor on the scene, the Eugeniodontida, a group
Look
of
at
shark-like
him.
fish that sported strange jaws that were often perfectly designed for slicing through soft tissue.
That makes sense.
Beyond the Rheonoceras,
Perfectly designed for its environment. So perfectly designed for the cephalopods within the environment. What an interesting jaw, though. It's like a little saw of teeth.
things for cephalopods would remain rather anticlimactic,
Oh.
until that is, the
Oh.
Mesozoic, where they finally experienced a resurgence in size.
Oh, we're back.
Perhaps spurred on by the Permian extinction,
We're
which due to
back.
its severity, basically reset the oceans and seas of prehistoric Earth. As the Permian ended and the Triassic began, it was really the Ammonites who took charge, so to speak, becoming both extremely
Oh
abundant
my
and
god,
diverse.
look at this thing. Polypeptochorus? Chocaris? Triceras? Oh my god, wait, this guy looks cool too. What the heck? I think I love cephalopods a little bit, maybe. They're so unique.
Of the numerous species and families that emerged, the Cladicididae stood out the most, as
Cladicididae.
they widely varied in size,
Oh cool, look at
with
him.
some having shells that were 1.7 meters
Holy
or 5.6
shit.
feet in diameter. To put that into perspective,
Holy.
the Nautilus, the biggest current shelled cephalopod, only has a diameter 1/7 of that.
Oh my god, look at the difference. Whoa. Whoa.
So, due to the shell
Wow.
size, it's safe to assume that the biggest cladicidids were rather well protected from external threats, and it helped them achieve a cosmopolitan range throughout the
Well, they
Triassic
have
waters.
a good range.
Yet, for all the advantages that their size brought, one thing that they were not was fearsome, since most assume that the cladicidids fed on slow-swimming small creatures, like crustaceans, plankton, and ostracods, as well as vegetation, leaving bigger prey to predators such as the giant ichthyosaurs, who were unequivocally the
Those are
true
cool
aquatic
guys.
kings of the time.
He has a video on them too. I don't think I've done it yet, but I will be doing it eventually. And I love these.
But it was the
Guys, I just love animals. Okay, you give me any animal content, past, present, future predictions in the future. I am there. I will eat it up. That is what we are here for, as you guys have probably realized. Yes, I react to memes. Yes, I react to like the pop cultural trends. Majority of my content is still like animal and or sciencey content because that is what I adore, and I figured if you guys are here watching it with me, you guys also enjoy it.
The ammonites and cephalopods in general that would get the last laugh. Because as the Mesozoic continued to unfold, they would tend to get even bigger, while the ichthyosaurs slowly got smaller and smaller, eventually being replaced by other nightmarish creatures. And by the time of the Jurassic, ammonites had outgrown their Triassic ancestors in more ways than one. For starters, you had the Lidoceratidae, a family of ammonoids who became heavier than any cephalopod before them. Specifically, a shell belonging to Lidoceras taharoense, which was discovered in New Zealand, measured about 1.42 meters or 4.7 feet in diameter. And while not as long as the shells of giant cladicidids,
still massive,
paleontologists noted that its shell was more dense and robustly built, leading to a far heavier weight of around 1,200 kilos or 2,600 pounds.
That's such a nice looking fossil too. I don't know about you guys, but like that's a freaking beauty, eh? That's so pretty.
In other words, 1.3 tons, and thus making it heavier than even the endocerids. What's strange though, is that despite being heavier, paleontologists think it was far faster, based upon the morphology of its shell, perhaps even being an active predator. Unfortunately though, not much more is known about it due to its scarce fossil record, a result of its preference for deeper waters. As previously alluded to, cephalopods of the Jurassic got bigger in more than one ways. So not just weight, but also length, which is demonstrated by Megateuthis. This was a belemnite that lived off the coast of what is today Europe and Asia, from the early to mid-Jurassic. In many ways, it was extremely similar to modern-day squids, and actually belongs to the same subclass.
Oh, cool.
Yet, unlike their living relatives, Megateuthis had no tentacles, and possessed an internal skeleton that formed its cone.
What? No tentacles with an internal skeleton.
While not as big as the giant or colossal squid, these prehistoric guys could still get quite lengthy, with larger specimens measuring 3.11 meters or 10.2 feet, making them the largest belemnite ever recorded, and if alive today, would be considered the fourth biggest cephalopod on the planet, at least by length. And while it wasn't the girthiest animal around, you still would not have wanted to swim into one.
Listen, you don't have to be the girthiest animal to do damage. You see that beak in this drawing or whatever? Like, you don't have to be the girthy animal. You should know how, you have to know how to use it.
As like some modern squids, its arms were covered with up to 800 razor-sharp hooks that could be used to stab or hold onto prey, which consisted mainly of fish and small marine mammals.
I hit the escape button by accident.
Not to mention, it also had a durable sharp beak, which could dish out surprisingly nasty bites. So all in all, this was one menacing squid-like creature, but it was still not the climax in cephalopod size or thalassophobia-ness, as that occurred during the Cretaceous. Specifically, things really ramped up during the later stages of this period, and there was actually more than just one kraken-worthy cephalopod existing at the exact same time. In fact, there was even a single sea, the Western Interior Seaway, that alone housed three giants, the Tusoteuthis, Ankoteuthis, and Parapazosia.
Interesting.
The first two are often grouped together, as they were remarkably similar in appearance, and both came from the same subfamily.
What we got going on here? Same subfamily. Okay.
The Ankoteuthinae. Unlike many before them, this subfamily's members did not have shells, and were historically compared to modern squids, with paleontologists once thinking that they were massive vampire-like squids, or primitive relatives of giant squids, leading to various reconstructions that widely varied in size, with some estimates reaching 11 meters or 35 feet. Based on newer research, it's now believed that Tusoteuthis and Ankoteuthis were actually more closely related to octopuses than anything else.
Oh, cool.
And superficially resembled a giant cuttlefish, meaning they had no tentacles. And with their new classification, scientists think that a hypothetical length of 3 meters or 10 feet is more realistic.
Guys, see, we love scientists. We can never agree on shit, man. It's all over the place.
But unlike the Megateuthis, which shared the same length, these two were fairly girthy, having plump mantles that were about as wide as those seen in colossal squids. Additionally, these mantles were shaped to reduce drag, and had fins or wings attached to the sides, which offered stabilization and increased speed. That together implied that these behemoths were active predators, who used pursuit tactics to hunt down a wide range of prey. That included fish, small marine reptiles, arthropods, and even birds, as these cephalopods inhabited both deep and shallow waters. But for as scary as they were, there was still one more real-life kraken lurking around that dwarfed not only them, but all others. The Parapazosia, the largest confirmed cephalopod of all time. This giant was not an ancotothid, but rather an ammonite from the Desmoceratidae family, who was related to squids, belemnites, octopuses, and cuttlefish. Like Tusoteuthis and Ancoteuthis, it could be found in the western interior seaway, but it was also known from other areas, such as Africa and Europe. Across all of its habitats, adults grew to massive proportions. Yet, it was really one incomplete shell in Germany that blew paleontologists away. Because if completed, it's estimated that this specimen would have had a shell diameter of up to 3.5 meters or 11 feet.
Whoa. Whoa. If that's the estimation, so it probably even went bigger than that. That's the one found in Germany? Lower size limit, upper size limit.
Making it bigger than the body of any ancotothid. And if you somehow manage to uncurl it, it's thought that the Parapazosia would have been 60 feet or 18 meters long, which is far greater than the length of even the longest recorded giant squids. And that's including their tentacles. At this size, Parapazosia was an extremely heavy creature too, who may have tipped the scales at 1.5 tons, with the shell alone accounting for nearly 50% of this weight. Ultimately, this made Parapazosia not only the largest cephalopod ever by weight, but the heaviest invertebrate of all time too.
I feel like I gotta go on some museum tours and go around the world and see some things in museums. I already told you guys this. I got to see the T-Rex fossils while they were out in Auckland, New Zealand. But I feel like I gotta start going to more museums. Like there's so many fossils out there I could see in person. That maybe I should start doing that. We'll start going places where there's cool fossils.
True kraken by all standards. And taking this size into account, paleontologists think that it might have fed on a variety of animals, possibly being an opportunistic predator that ate whatever came its way, which based upon its environment could have included marine reptiles, vertebrates, and fish. That being said, there are others that think it was more of a gentle giant, preferring a diet consisting of plankton or vegetation. The fact that Parapazosia and large ancotuthids could all be found in one sea is seriously impressive.
It is.
But the late Cretaceous was a haven to giant cephalopods worldwide, with another hotspot being Japan. A bit ironic when considering the common trope of Japan being attacked by monsters who come from the water.
Correct.
It was here that paleontologists discovered two separate cephalopod beaks that perplexed them, as both were larger than the mouths seen in giant and colossal squids, with the larger of the two being about twice the size of any beak found in living squid species.
Oh my god.
They concluded that these two fossils had belonged to two separate genera of giant prehistoric squids, which they named Haberoteuthis and Yezoteuthis. Both were undeniably huge, but researchers do not necessarily believe that their beaks implied body sizes twice that of the giant or colossal squid, and instead thinking that the beak's measurements reflected exceptionally powerful and wide bites that enabled them to become major predators in their environment, who were only limited by the size of prey rather than what they were. And this restriction only left a few animals off the menu, since paleontologists believe that both were among the largest marine life found in those waters. It should be noted though, that of the two, Yezoteuthis was slightly larger, although even it was not the real king.
Did they figure that he was slightly larger because of the beak being slightly larger? Was that why?
Paleontologists discovered yet another beak in Japan.
Oh my god, another
that was
one?
Far larger than either of the two original fossils.
What?
However, no one is sure to what genus it belongs to, or if it represents a new kind of cephalopod.
So we have a mystery beak out here? Oh my gosh. Guys, next Godzilla movie, he's coming.
And to add insult to injury, no real size estimate has been given for this prehistoric kraken. But safe to say, whatever it was, it did not make the waters any safer. And speaking of mysterious cephalopods, there is a rather curious story I want to talk about. Although to discuss it, we do have to go back to the Triassic, as this story is about a monstrous cephalopod that supposedly dominated the Earth's oceans 215 million years ago. And this was the Triassic kraken. Now, fair warning, this hypothesis is almost universally unaccepted, with basically only one paleontologist supporting it, and that is the guy who came up with it himself. He believes...
I love it. I love it. Yeah, so there's only one guy supporting it, and it's the guy who created the theory. Yeah.
That the remains of 9 giant ichthyosaurs, who were found next to each other, were all victims of a massive cephalopod that had slayed them and then buried them meticulously in an aquatic graveyard. Given the lengths of the ichthyosaurs in question, He estimated that the giant kraken must have been 30 meters or 100 feet long in order
It
to
would probably be fun to go down like a rabbit hole of theories regarding prehistoric times. Like regarding not even just like the ocean life here, but also the terrestrial life and like everything. I think it'd be fun just to hear the different theories. Also, I'm going to move over slightly. Do you see the little buddy, like the little person compared to the size of all of these? Isn't that nuts? That's freaking nuts. I think it's nuts.
have successfully hunted them, making it by far the largest cephalopod and among one of the
By
longest
far.
marine animals of all time. Only problem was that no cephalopod remains were found at the time. Plus, there were many more reasonable explanations, including that the ichthyosaurs had died in a beaching event, or that they were separately buried next to each other due to weathering. On top of this, even at 30 meters or 100 feet, a cephalopod would have an extremely tough time taking down a large ichthyosaur, let alone 9.
Yeah.
And the story was quickly disregarded by most. However, the paleontologist was not deterred, and lo and behold, a few years later, he actually found a cephalopod fossil in the area, once again
What?
reigniting the story. The fossil in question was a beak, and while it was
Oh.
not as large as what he was expecting, he still stated that it must have come from a bus-sized cephalopod, which would still make the Triassic kraken among Earth's largest invertebrates. However, once
Crazy.
again, there was a slight issue, because while there was indeed a beak, it was only 5 centimeters long, nearly identical to the length of a colossal squid's beak, meaning that the claim of it being bus-sized seemed a bit implausible, and almost guaranteeing that it could not have killed 9 giant ichthyosaurs. Though, a potentially colossal-sized squid during the Triassic would still be quite impressive, and
It would
calls
be
into question
impressive.
just how many more undiscovered prehistoric krakens there really are. Thanks for watching, and until
Thanks
next
for
time on Extinct
watching.
Zoo.
Until next time. Oh my gosh. Alrighty. Oh, hello, Josh. Guys, this is Josh, fellow mutual of mine, fellow gotcha gamer. Anyways, sorry about that. But holy moly, that's crazy. Okay. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I guess if you made it all the way to the end of this video, comment down the squid emoji. I hope you learned some new things. I definitely learned some new things. I did not know a whole lot about like the history of the Kraken, and I was excited to learn about the history of the Kraken, and I hope you were excited to learn with me. Please remember, I do have an anime channel. If you want more reactions, go check it out. It is Anime with Saphwyn. We also do have my gaming channel. It is Gotcha Games. I am a filthy gotcha gamer, okay? But we do have a gaming channel for gotcha games if you want to check that one out too. But I will see you guys all on the flip side. And goodbye.